As a leader, you have the ability to inspire and help people or to damage and deflate people. And the words that you are using when you are speaking to others make all the difference. Hey, you leader, entrepreneur, business owner, solopreneur, whatever you call yourself, we know you're a visionary business builder, wealth seeker looking to combine a passion for doing good with leading consciously. It's time to shift from a traditional focus of pure wealth accumulation to one that integrates well-being and fulfillment. You're here for a purpose, and it's time to shine your light. So here we go. Welcome back to the Conscious Edge podcast. I'm Alicia St. Germain, your host. I'm joined by my regular co-host, Jonathan Duggar, and we're so very happy that you're here. We have started this podcast over a year ago now because we wanted to explore what it means to be human, building a business, all the things that we go through. We talk about everything from personal life to what we experience in business, to creating wealth, to strategy, and everything in between. So we've been having these conversations behind closed doors for over 20 years, and now they're public. So
now it's all out there.
Now it's all out there.
And we're on video now, too.
And we're on video now, so you can go check us out on YouTube. So in the last episode, we talked a lot about qualifiers, things that people say that often come up when they're not feeling confident. Now we wanted to talk a little bit more about it from a leadership perspective. And it's so fascinating to me because so many people don't really see themselves as leaders, even though they are. So I think at all moments, you're leading yourself, you're leading your family, you're leading your business, you're leading your clients. And anytime I have seen people struggling or having challenges, even when it comes to interactions with people outside of their business who might be clients, it comes from a lack of leading people, a lack of setting expectations, telling people how things are going to go. And there's a way to do this in a very compassionate way. And there's also a way to do this in a very disempowering and a way that just doesn't really land well.
Yes.
We want to talk about 6 things that people say that are demotivating and counteract them with 6 things that people can say that are motivating for people. And it's so funny because oftentimes I'll hear people feel frustrated with contractors, people that they're interacting with. And when you hear someone talk, I mean, you could almost tell what the problem is because of the way that they speak about people and the way that they, like, the judgment and the loathing and all of that is just like seeping out in their language.
Yeah.
And you want to be like, well, I can see why that would happen.
I wonder why people leave this company so often, or I wonder why you can't keep a good... Yeah.
Yep.
That's so true. And it's interesting. I work a lot in corporate settings and with individuals and with small businesses too. But often in corporate settings, you'll see a culture that has become that's not effective and not positive and isn't based on kindness and thoughtfulness. It's based on sort of this cutthroat, getting to the next level, regardless of who you have to step on. And it becomes across in language and it becomes very clear very quickly. And I had somebody say to me years ago when I was sort of transitioning out of the world of mental health care and into consulting in corporate settings, they said, when we were talking about leadership development, and they said, well, everybody, kind of like you said a while ago, Alicia, everybody has the opportunity to be a leader. And think of it as any situation you're in where you have the possibility or the opportunity to affect positive change, that's a chance for leadership. So you're leading in that positive change. So that's the realm I try and take language into in these leadership development environments. So just as an example, So think about these two statements that a leader might say, or a team lead might say to their team, or you might say to your employees. It's like, we have a problem and I don't know how we're going to fix it. I'm sure some of you are having a little PTSD because you've heard that said directly to you, or you've said that to a group or to an employee or to your kid or to your spouse.
Problem. I hear problem all the time. What's the problem?
Yeah, we have a problem and we don't know how to fix it.
We don't know how to fix it. Okay.
So there's intention behind that. And I know where that comes from. They're saying, okay, here's an issue and I need help. Okay. Which that's a good thing, right? But it's not always what you say. It's how you say it. So second statement, we have a challenge in front of us and I'm confident we'll find a solution together. We need each other in this. I just conveyed the same information in two very different ways. So that's just the overarching example of sort of the demotivating or undermining statement and a motivating collaborative statement.
Yeah. It literally feels like the difference between scarcity and abundance.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's exactly what it is. So I thought I would just read through some of these demotivating statements because I have a feeling that most of you are going to feel this. You're going to feel it because you've experienced it. And then I'm going, go ahead.
I was going to say, question for you. Do you have like the demotivating statement and then the counteract to it? Because
I didn't write it that way, but it sort of is. I think unconsciously I was doing that. So I'll try and approach it that way a little bit because I think after I did that example, I thought I should have done all of them like that.
Yeah.
Hindsight, you know. All right. So here's an example of one that I hear a lot and have probably have said myself. You should have known better.
You should have known better.
You should have known better.
Yeah. That's like riddled with shame.
Exactly.
And in fact, one of my clients actually, that is a phrase she heard over and over and over as a child. You should have known better. And she had to do a lot of work. It created a big assumption for her around if she makes a mistake, that means she's not smart. Yep. And so that you should have known better, riddled with shame and that fear, it creates such a fear of making mistakes. And I could see in a culture within a business, if everyone is so terrified of making mistakes, then it would move very slowly because everyone's trying to get it right.
Exactly.
And no one takes action.
Yeah. They avoid doing anything at all. It causes a paralysis. Yeah, absolutely. There's a corporate term. I can't remember the guy that wrote the book, but he calls it team paralysis or department paralysis. And it often comes from that because they've been shamed or punished so often for screwing up. So a motivating in the same type of situation, something has happened, somebody screwed up. We all do. A motivating phrase might be, I trust you can handle this. Pull on whatever resources from the team that you need.
Even if you don't think that they can, people will often rise to the occasion or to the expectation you set for them.
You could even use that language. This is an opportunity for us to learn together. Let's figure this out. So, and stay away from, listen to the last episode about the I can't you. Stay away from the I can't.
Yeah.
As a response.
Yep. Yeah. So I could see where that's such a big difference. I remember being working as a contractor for one company and very much having that you should have known better, always felt like you were in trouble. Like, you know, also I just naturally have I always feel like I'm in trouble sort of way of being. But like if anytime the phone rings and it's somebody that I respect, it's like, oh, what did I do now? Nothing typically. And then going into another company's culture and doing consulting with them and it being like, if you don't know something or you don't know how to do this, get some coaching. Like put your ego aside, stop trying to look good, get some coaching so you can improve. And I felt so safe to grow in that company.
Perfect segue actually into my next one. So a very common demotivating statement uttered by leaders is, that's not how we do things here.
Mm.
That's not how we do things here.
Yeah. Talk about closing off creativity.
Absolutely.
And I have experienced that's one of the people start to shut down when they hear that enough. That's not how we do it. Someone comes with a new idea and they're excited and they say something, well, that's not how we do it here. Or that's not how we've done it. That's not how we do it. Like, they're going to stop trying for innovation.
Yep. Absolutely. And sometimes that statement is not said from a negative place. They're saying it to acknowledge that this is different. So the motivating phrase involves that, acknowledging the uniqueness. So you use the word creativity, which actually I'm going to incorporate that on the spot. I appreciate the efforts. That's a creative and new approach for this team. Thank you for your contribution. Mm-hmm. So acknowledge that it's different and look at it as an opportunity to explore possibilities. Even if it's not a good fit, that's okay. That's okay to acknowledge that it is different, and it gives us an awareness that we don't necessarily have to do everything the same way.
Don't you think that it's necessary? I really think that this is where leaders having self-awareness and really understanding that your brain is naturally going to see, depending on your big assumption, but your brain is going to naturally see anything new or different as potentially dangerous, potentially bad, not good.
It's a threat. Yeah, it's perceived as a threat.
And so being aware of that and aware of that thought process for yourself is really crucial for you to be able to transform this language. Mm-hmm. Because if you're not aware of your discomfort or your guttural reaction, that stuff's going to pop out of your mouth naturally.
Yep. That just made me think, in the last episode, we talked a little bit about mindfulness as an approach to adjusting your language and adjusting how we deliver that language. And that's so important in these kind of situations, because we can get into a self-judgment place of, I shouldn't have said that, or I could have said that better. I could have said that differently. If you stay mindfully aware of your language, then you do that without judgment and criticism. You say, I wonder if I could have said that in a different way. That didn't seem to land. What could I have said differently? Or they seem to have a negative response, even though I didn't mean that in a negative way. How do I adjust what I do? Mm-hmm. Or how did that impact them? And if there's something behind that, how do I adjust what I do? I can't adjust them. How do I adjust what I do?
Right.
So it is interesting when you start to self-monitor, though, you can get locked up in sort of that sort of self-analysis and judgment.
Have you had the experience? This is the other thing that I've noticed is there's language that is associated with abundance, we'll say, mm-hmm. and language that's associated with scarcity. I think people generally lend more naturally to scarcity language. It's just culturally what we do. It's experiences that we've had. It's self-protection. And when you start to adopt that abundant language, you work on yourself. And it's not just saying. This is the funny thing about manifestation, I think, is people think if I say the words, then it will happen. But if you've got a whole garbage system underneath what you're saying, and it's all from scarcity, it's not going to be effective. And so if you're following any kind of manifestation or prayer or anything, if you're like, why are these things not coming forward for me? Why is this not happening? I really encourage you to explore what's underneath there. Like, what's the system of self-protection? Because even though you're consciously monitoring some of your words, energetically, you're still putting out or having those things slip in when you're not monitoring it. So my point in saying all of this is when you first start to use some of this different language, it feels so foreign. It mm-hmm. feels maybe even a little inauthentic. And the more that I have used it and become aware of the language that I use, number one, I catch myself when I'm using things that are demotivating or things that are revealing my mindset or my insecurity. And then I was hearing other people use it and I thought, they sound weird. So there's this discord I think I wanted to just notice there's a discord a little bit that sometimes when you're starting to shift things in your team that you're talking to, it might feel weird at first.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what I want to acknowledge.
Because there's something called the echo effect, and it's like this dissonance thing where it's foreign. It sounds foreign. It's said in a different way. But what's really happening is there's an emotional process going on behind the scenes. It's like, this feels different. Even if it's a positive, and that's quite often, especially when there's been a toxic relationship in the work environment or otherwise. That's why people stay in toxic places so long, because they know it's toxic, but it's familiar. So when something starts feeling good, or they start feeling motivated, or they start feeling inspired, good things, right? But it's different. And like you said, the brain is like, oh, different bad, warning, warning.
Yeah. So I just wanted to bring that up as we're talking about these pieces, that you might even dismiss it as like, well, that's frou-frou, or that sounds like too fluffy or whatever. But when you practice it and when you believe it and you can land it from a place of really authentically believing what you're saying and meaning it, like really meaning that we're going to figure it out together, or that this is an opportunity for learning. Meanwhile, in the back of your mind, you're like, you should have known better. Like, that's going to be inauthentic.
Yeah. That's where the practice of mindfulness and mindful self-compassion comes in, because when you can start asking non-judgment loaded questions, like you have a guttural reaction, you have something that shuts something down, but by making an internal statement like, oh, that's so frou-frou, or that's so flaky, or that'll never work in this environment. Just ask the question, a very simple and basic question without judgment. Just ask the question, why was I so quick to respond to that in a negative way? Where's that coming from? Why did I discount this as completely ineffective so quickly? I haven't even thought about it. I haven't even looked at the research. I haven't even asked any questions. That's the kind of mindful cascade you can practice going to, as opposed to the completely undermining or self-deprecating or whatever.
Right. And a lot of times it's, I'm afraid it won't work. I'm afraid things can't change. I'm afraid it'll break things. I'm afraid.
Yeah. I'm afraid I'm incapable. I'm afraid I'll disappoint.
Yeah.
Yes.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
So.
Great. Again, you're doing perfect segues. So this next one that I have is, I just heard this recently, said to somebody, again, it wasn't intended from a negative place, but it was how they said it. And it was from, there's a lot of redistribution going on in corporate settings now, where people are having to wear many hats or take on roles that they've never had any background in or preparation for. So this leader said to this person that had been forced into a role that she never knew she was going to be in, he said to her, this is obviously out of your wheelhouse. And I saw her melt, just diminish on the spot. And he did not mean it in a negative way. He was saying it preemptively to offer her additional training and support, and actually to offer me up as a resource. But it was the way he opened that gate that she was not going to step through that. So a motivating way to say that is like, let's acknowledge that this is a new area for you. So it's an opportunity for all of us to collaborate. And then if it is a situation where somebody brings some unique skills to a team or to a situation that aren't necessarily directly related to what they're doing, go ahead and acknowledge that you bring a unique perspective, which is going to be helpful as we build this position or whatever it is. So when I started using the word collaborate more in my language, especially in professional settings, I noticed a really positive shift very quickly. And when other people started picking up that word collaborate, it instilled a curiosity that wasn't there before. People would say, oh, opportunity to do something together, as opposed to working in isolation or to being completely on my own or not having any resources to pull from. So sometimes it's just a really subtle shift.
And I think it's interesting, like this is obviously out of your wheelhouse. And also, I could see for entrepreneurs, there's a lot of things that are out of their wheelhouse. So
most things when we start,
there's this piece of, I can see someone even saying that to themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not cut out for this. I'm not good at this. I don't know anything about this. And it is really demotivating for self.
Yeah.
To say things like that for yourself. But the other side of that is that it's new.
Mm-hmm.
Anything new is outside of your wheelhouse. And so I think really lending to this is a new territory for me. This is something new that I'm figuring out is really powerful. And I know go ahead.
Well, when you can adjust the new too, instead of it being fear-based, fear-loaded, new is opportunity and it's an adventure.
Right.
It's get some of that childlike wonderment of, new. Yeah. New opportunity to learn some things, new opportunity to meet different people, new opportunity to speak a different language in a different way, see things from a different perspective.
Well, and then on a piece of that, right, is that just because something is new doesn't mean that you don't already have valuable experience and skills that lend to that. So I will often hear people concerned about investing in a new type of real estate, going into a new asset class, going in and serving a new type of client that they've not served before. And then having a lot of self-doubt and questioning whether they're qualified or not. And so then that's when you get into a lot of the qualifier words, a lot of the self-esteem things that we talked about in the last episode. And it's worth looking at what skill set you do have that lends to you being able to navigate that new, different, exciting opportunity that you have, because you have a track record of figuring things out. You wouldn't be where you are today if you didn't have a track record of figuring things out and being resourceful and using your brain and your skill sets in different ways. So I think really lending to how what you do know makes you qualified to now take the next steps into this new exciting opportunity helps as well. Yep. So I know we're talking about things that demotivate and motivate, and we've been talking about what people say to other people, but.
Well, like we said in the last episode, that's what we say to others. It affects us, how we say it, and also what we allow in and what we hang on to. It kind of continues this internal dialogue. When I first started in the consulting world, when I left the clinical world and was transitioning in the consulting world, I had 3 or 4 pitches to 4 different contracts that I hadn't secured. And because I was usually going up against these MBAs, people with business backgrounds. I'm coming from a clinical background. I had a guy in CTO, a chief training officer in Dallas, after I had done my little presentation. And I was in this, like everybody gave their pitch, gave their presentation, and I was like 4th or 5th to go. I was getting ready to leave. We'd all finished up. I was getting ready to leave. And he pulled me aside and he's like, "You're not going to get this contract. I'm just going to tell you." He goes, "Next one you're up for, next pitch you do, don't tell people what you can't do. Don't tell people what you're not good at. Tell people why you're there and what you bring to the table." He's like, "If you had approached this differently, it would have been yours 100%, because you're completely different than everybody else in the room. And you've got the piece mastered that nobody else has. It's like you're an expert in human behavior. None of these bozos from Harvard or wherever else have that." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I got something that's actually useful." I was brand new at that time, but he was delivering things in a way that was super practical and super helpful. And lo and behold, next time I did that and I got the contract. It was sort of like this. Right now, I see this a lot where people are doing things brand new and they're approaching it because they've been programmed this way, that it's all these things I can't do, or all these ways I can't live up to, as opposed to looking at it as an opportunity to learn all these things and grow in a different way and meet new people and develop, pad your resume even more, develop a new range of skills. So leaders, though, have the opportunity to instill that and to nurture it along as opposed to shutting it down, which happens quite often.
Yep.
Oh, we got a few. What's our time like?
We're good.
I'm trying to be more aware of time now. Also heard recently is like, this will go much quicker if you just do what I say.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That one I get a personal thing because me and my control issues, I get my own. So, that was one though that has the potential to really shut somebody down from then on, because it's like, well, give me the instructions. I'll just follow instructions. That's all I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to be an automaton, supposed to be a robot. Mm-hmm. So a true leader, though, is going to instill a level of autonomy and creativity and highlighting the skill set that someone brings to the table. So just by saying something simple as, your insights are valuable. What do you have for me? What would you like to suggest? How do you see this role taking shape?
Yeah. And I could even see, like, here's how I would approach it. Do you have any, like, how do you see this going differently? Or before I tell you how I would approach it, let me hear your thoughts.
That's even better. See, I love that. It's like, before I even put this on you, please tell me how you see yourself in this role. Or please tell me your thoughts on how to do this particular thing.
Yeah. Yep. Very collaborative.
That's perfect. Yep.
And not leading.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me too, when I'm in an observation place of those kind of conversations and I hear a leader do that, I see them genuinely respond to something new in a positive way where they're like, oh, I've never thought of that. Or that would be much better. That would be much more effective. I heard one CEO being, not in a self-deprecating way, but somebody that was really well-versed, and it was in a medical setting, actually, or a pharma setting. And this woman gave this approach to something that they were having challenges with that was completely novel. He's like, I'm blown away. He goes, but I'm a little pissed off because we have wasted so much time trying to do these things my way, which was not effective.
Yeah.
Like we should have brought you in sooner.
Mad at himself for getting it in his own way, right?
Yeah, exactly. But the fact that he could actually own that and admit it to everybody was super helpful.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. All right. Last one. I just don't have time for this right now. That one is like hitting like a bomb right now. It's exploding in someone's brain.
Yeah.
I used to say I don't have time all the time.
It's like,
to all kinds of people. Like, I've said it to you. I don't have the capacity for this right now.
Yeah. And that's where it usually comes from. That's where someone feels stretched too thin or they're overloaded. So this is where I think that it's important to show your humanity and say, we're all really stretched thin right now, but I see this as something we need to make priority. Mm-hmm. Because if somebody comes to you with an issue or a challenge that's strong enough for you to have that kind of response, then it's probably pretty important to them. It's probably pretty important to a team, or it's something that needs to be covered. And a good leader is not going to ignore something just because they're tapped. That doesn't mean they have to undermine their own self-care, but they have to acknowledge that things have to be reprioritized sometimes.
Well, and I think then it's a conversation of even maybe it isn't a priority what's coming up, because sometimes things have come to my plate from somebody, consultant or somebody that I've hired in the business. And I've said, I don't have the capacity to do that right now. I'm seeing that as something that we want to address at this point. Or let's think about where does this fit into the timeline? Yep. So it's like still validating it, but
you can turn it into something that's very practical too, from a time management standpoint, and simply say, this week is loaded. I'm at capacity. So let's schedule some time on the books for next week. Oh. What you have to say is important. Something like that. You can be specific. But when you are generic in a way that comes across as shutting someone down or making them less, it's tough to recover from that once it's been set.
Well, that's a burden statement. Yeah. Like you're burdening me type statement. And that directly undermines someone's own worthiness.
Exactly.
So, super powerful. So we hope we've given you some things this week to chew on and be aware of. And so much of what we talked about really stems from the work that you do on yourself as the leader. It is so much easier to speak light and empowerment and inspiration over people when you yourself are feeling solid and good in what you're doing from a personal perspective. So if you are saying the right things, but you don't actually embody it or feel it, then it's going to be ineffective. So it really stems from starting with you. And Jonathan and I are here to support you in doing that. So at any point, if you feel like that you need coaching, please reach out to us and we would be more than happy to support you. So with all of that being said, sending you so much love.
Be well, everybody.
Thanks for listening to the Conscious Edge podcast. Make sure you subscribe and take a moment to be kind and share this episode with someone you care about. Leave a review to help us bring more compassionate leaders building businesses and creating wealth to the table. And for show notes, head over to consciousedge.com/podcast. This podcast and the linked materials are presented solely for general information, educational, and entertainment purposes and should not be taken as personal or medical advice or any kind of mental health treatment. Please consult a medical or mental health professional if you feel you need such services. Please be advised that all investing and entrepreneurial endeavors involve risk, and the use of the education and information on this podcast and linked materials is at the user's own risk.
This podcast is part of the Sound Advice FM network. Sound Advice FM, women's voices amplified.